Today, folks, Japan is crashing and it's taking the US markets down with it. We're going to break that down along with the most concerning indicator in this market environment, and that is Warren Buffett selling over 50% of his Apple position. We have to talk about that along with the most bullish stocks in the market that are crashing miserably. Where are the bottoms? When are these buying opportunities? And what does it mean for my money and what I'm doing? If that is a conversation you'd appreciate on your path to financial independence, then damn well, retire early. Go subscribe and hit that like button while you're down there, because the Japanese market right now is sliding aggressively. I mean, it has dropped 23% just basically within a week. It has been a very rough, couple of days, and it is all related to the interest rate cycle and what's happening there, because their interest rates were virtually at zero for, I think, through most of this weird market environment, and they only recently just started raising the interest rates. And the speculation is that a lot of people were taking the money out of Japan. They were bringing it over to the US because they could borrow it for hardly anything, take it to the US, put it in high interest, money market funds, all that stuff that's been driving those funds up, and, make good money and then just bring it back to Japan. But when they raised interest rates, what happened is it spiked the Japanese dollar, because when you raise rates, it leads to higher demand, all this stuff for currencies. I don't know. It's a lot of technical economic stuff, but the fact is you raise interest rates, the dollar goes up with it. And that is absolutely giving people margin calls, right? Because now they're converting the currency at a worser value. So not only, is the Japanese market down, but then you have the dollar that's up 12% against the US dollar. So now every dollar you bring back is actually lost 12% of its value. So that's kind of the speculation here, if I can make sense of it. And it's also leading into some speculation on US dollars, because there must have been a lot of foreign currency in the United States, because it's just recently fallen off a cliff. So I mean, just in the last 5 days, right? So there's something going on here where there's a lot of USD being sold, and it's likely being sold out of Japan and a lot of global markets. Very, very interesting stuff going on here. So that's been the cause of concern, and it has nothing to do with anything other than black swan oriented events. This is what I told you. This is literally the definition of something that nobody predicted. I didn't hear anybody talking about this. Me, Kevin, all these guys were talking about we're heading into a recession, sell your stock. Nobody knows that this stuff is happening. It just happens. You just wake up one day. Here we are, folks. So you kind of got to stomach the reality, and we'll talk about what I'm doing, but I want to talk about what these, billionaire fund managers like Buffett are doing, because this kind of broke my soul. I always like to believe that Warren Buffett was a long-term investor. It says if he buys something he likes, he's going to hold on to it forever, and if anything, buy more. But we all know that's not true anymore. I mean, Berkshire has been in and out of stocks a lot recently since the pandemic, and their stock's not getting too hindered in this current market sell-off. It is down, but I mean, considering how much it's up and how well that it's done. I mean, year to date, it's still outperforming the S&P 500. And I think a lot of this has to do with the mass amount of cash. I think they're sitting on over $200 billion in cash right now. And they're going to be running into a brick wall, I think, soon. Because when they sell off these positions and they just put it in cash, the high interest rates are doing them well. But when they start cutting those rates and they don't have anywhere to put that cash, I'm kind of perplexed, unless they're just waiting for an absolute market calamity to take advantage of. $200 billion is a lot of cash, man. It's kind of crazy. So anyways, they liquidated half their Apple position. We got to remember they did sell a little bit more off prior, I think a quarter or two ago. And usually that's always the trigger, right? They sell a little bit, they sell more, they keep selling more. And, Warren Buffett said that they were selling Apple for tax reasons, but clearly not. Clearly, they're continuing to sell it because they think it's probably overvalued. They probably like the position for the moat, the the fundamentals of the product and everything, but for the company itself, it's expensive. So I can see why they're selling it. I mean, it makes perfect sense, but they're selling a lot of things. They sold some Bank of America. They actually sold some Chevron, increased Occidental, Chubb Limited. They increased a little bit here. I mean, these are really small buys in comparison. I did notice they completely got rid of, I believe, they got rid of Paramount. That one's gone. They getting rid of anything else. HP is now gone. They completely sold out of that position. Just really interesting moves, in my opinion, because again, you take a look at Apple here, and for this thing to be trading at a favorable value, it's going to have to drop a lot. This is the problem right now in this market environment. We need to get to a better place sooner rather than later, or people are going to have to start stomaching the reality that these stocks are overvalued. I mean, we got AI, we got new phone cycles coming up, a lot of things to be hyped about, but that's not happening today. And today we're trading at a 32 times multiple, which, for Apple to be trading at a 32 times, again, is at the upper range of its historical averages of being around a 15 to a 20. And we're talking about a time here where, again, when you take a look at revenue and profit, revenue's not really growing. If we take a look at EBITDA, EBITDA growth has slowed down dramatically. You know, I'm just saying these are the reality, the indicators people are taking into consideration. So let's talk about the most bullish stocks in the market, and then we'll just talk about like my opinion, what I want to buy, what I want to do here, because there's a lot of things that I'm noticing are coming into favor. If we take a look, the Qs are down a lot today. VNQ, some of these real estate ETFs I've been buying are down, not as much, thank God. Same with SCHD. They've been kind of keeping the portfolio at bay from taking major dips with the S&P down, or VOO down 3% today. But man, when I scroll through and I see Tesla down 5% today, back into the 100s. Nvidia's down 7%. Palantir's down 6%. Crypto still down pretty dramatically. I got to ask myself here, like, what's the more favorable thing to be buying? Like, is this something that's going to continue? Because if it is, it's arguable that some of these growth stocks are going to be coming back into a more favorable position if you believe, again, we get on the other side of this kind of recessionary environment. But Nvidia right now, I think, is honestly getting into a more favorable place if it continues to grow at a excelled level. We've talked about this with their price to earnings. They're actually trading at more of a historic norm for the price to earnings with this 25% correction. Like I said, I never had the guts to buy this. I don't understand it well enough. But again, I always like taking a look at the historical averages. And if we just take a look, I'm telling you, this is the time where if you're buying some of these hyper growth stocks and you believe in them, when we get down to the 50s here, actually we're trading at a lower price to earnings right now than we were during 2020 and 2021 for Nvidia. So again, we could say that's pretty favorable, right? Now, Palantir is kind of in its own realm, which I think this could be a savior to the market tonight when it posts earnings. If you believe in Palantir, it is a very, very expensive company, even compared to the likes of NVIDIA. Actually, Palantir makes NVIDIA look cheap for the most part. So if this company can actually do blowout numbers tonight and invigorate some of the AI plays, this could help save the market and help start finding bottoms with it. Tesla... Now, people keep asking me, am I going to buy Tesla if it dips back down into the 100s? And for the most part, maybe actually. We bought Tesla over 3 months in this period here, rallied back very aggressively. We sold it for a nice 50% profit. And now we're getting back down to levels where I was actually still buying it to some extent. I was buying it in the 180s for the most part. Honestly, if Tesla's a very expensive company, I told you, I think the fair market value for this, and this is just my opinion, it's not a prediction. I don't know what the markets are going to do, but I think it's more around 300 to 400 billion. And I told you guys, when I'm buying it in this 150 to 180 range, I'm paying around $500 billion for it. And I'm presuming that it's going to drop. And I'm comfortable if it drops, up to 50%, because I can buy more on the dip, right? So if we get back into that thesis and we see it come down enough, yeah, I'll pick up shares again. I'd have no problem doing that. It's just a matter of being patient and seeing, because at 200, I still think it's a bit valued here. But again, if we get back into the 180s, 150s, yeah, I could see this being a favorable stock for me personally. But in the broader market of things, I had some cash and I was starting to transfer it to my account, and I said, is there anything that like screams to me a buy right now, like that we don't already hold? Meta, Google, there's some good companies right now if you want to buy some individual stocks, but I mean, VOO hasn't corrected that much. I mean, for the most part, we're down maybe 8%, I think. We're really not down as much, that I'd like to see. So I'm honestly just not that excited about the sell-off right now. I know a lot of people are flipping out. If you're buying individual stocks, you're getting the shit wrecked out of you, right? Like, that's the reality of it. And I'm just not much of an individual stock picker. I'm holding like SCHD. I mean, even some of my small cap stocks are still doing much better than the broader markets today. So it's like, yeah, I look at my portfolio and I'm like, this isn't enough for me to like just start pulling all this cash, throwing in the market. I need at least a 10%. If we get over 10% correction of VOO, I'll pick some shares up if it hits that 10% mark in the next couple days. 100%, I will definitely start, contributing a little bit heavier to the broader indices. But for the most part, like I said, I'm just sitting, I'm just waiting. I got the cash. We'll see if anything like really opens up my eyes and this gets like way too overdrawn. But for right now, it's kind of a mixed bag of, there are some stocks that are still highly valued in the market. There are still some stocks that, are trading at better values today, but it's all correcting, which is great. So it's just opening up some further opportunities. Now keep cost averaging by all means. Like, I'm not going to stop buying stocks. But yeah, I'm just looking to see how far this window opens up. but something tells me for how aggressive this sell-off is going to be, it's not going to last as long. Maybe I could be wrong. I've been listening to predictions from everybody. Me, Kevin thinks that the sell-off is going to last into the election cycle. I don't know how related this is to the yen. If basically, if this market keeps selling off and they keep raising interest rates, I don't know how long. If this is just like a flash, crash from margin calls, I don't really know. But I have a hard time believing that the markets are very volatile, so it's big swings down, big swings up, but I'll probably start picking some shares up sooner rather than later because I just don't trust these sell-offs. They've always come back pretty aggressively. But let me know what you think in that comment section below.